Across the country, empty showrooms and shuttered lots are becoming the new normal. In 2025, nearly 25% of car dealerships have shut their doors, and that number keeps climbing. Something much bigger is happening under the surface, and it's not just about sales. The entire car market is heading toward a collapse no one expected. The warning signs were ignored, and now a brutal shift is tearing the industry apart. Join us as we explore details of the meltdown and find out what triggered it. The downfall of car dealerships. Across many towns in America, something important is slowly fading away, but nobody's talking about it. There are no news reports or protests. It's just happening bit by bit in small towns and busy suburbs. The local car dealership, once a trusted part of every community, is going out of business. These places used to feel lively. They made it through hard times, through recessions, gas shortages, and even the pandemic when supply chains around the world broke down. But now, in 2025, they're slipping away in a much heavier way. Phones that once rang all day have grown quiet. The sales team starts to shrink. New cars arrive, but they don't leave. They begin to stack up outside and inside the showroom. Fewer people walk in, fewer deals are made. Weeks pass, then months. By the time the lights inside are turned off for good, nobody says anything. No going out of business signs, no thank you ads, just locked doors, empty chairs, and cars that haven't moved in months, all covered in a thin layer of dust. The building stays up, but everything that made it matter goes. These weren't just businesses. For many families, they were something much personal. Some dealerships had been around for 3 or 4 generations. They were passed down like a legacy, built from scratch, one customer at a time. Over the years, they helped their neighbors buy cars, fix them, and trade them in when the time was right. There was a relationship between these shops and their communities. That relationship took years to grow, but now it's been swept away. What's making this collapse different is that it didn't come from a big crisis. There was no scandal, no terrible mistake, no single event that brought these places down. It happened slowly, piece by piece. A mix of small problems added up until they became too much. The cost of keeping cars on the lot rose sharply. Interest on floor plans, the loans dealers used to stock vehicles, went up. Profit margins fell apart. Expenses kept growing while sales dropped. It became impossible to keep up. No matter how loyal the customer base was or how long the dealership had been around, none of that could stop what was coming. The shell of the business might still be there, but the heart of it, the trust, the traffic, the community, has already faded. And with it, the customers have disappeared too. The parking lots are empty now. No one stops by to look through the windows. And the real reason for that goes far beyond car prices. The truth is, car ownership doesn't feel the same anymore. People aren't just delaying a purchase. Many are walking away from the idea altogether. Not because they don't need a car, but because they simply can't afford one. What used to be normal, going into a dealership, picking out a car, and signing some papers, has become out of reach for most people. It's not just the sticker price that's the problem. The full cost of owning a car has increased. Monthly payments have gone up. Insurance is more expensive. Taxes, fees, and maintenance are all adding pressure. For most working families, owning even a basic car now feels like a burden they can't take on. Even small cars that were once considered budget-friendly now start near $30,000.
How much did you put in the Q50?
I probably put like over 30. I stopped counting after that. So I ain't trying to, think about it too much.
That's just the beginning. When you add in everything else, fuel, repairs, interest, the cost climbs fast. Some people are stuck with bills of $700 or more each month. And while all of this is happening, other basic needs like food, rent, and healthcare also keep rising. What used to be a smart and simple step, trading in your old car every few years, has now become risky. More people are holding on to their cars for as long as they possibly can. The average car on the road today is over 12 years old. In some families, one car is being used by 2 or 3 adults. Others are making hard choices, fixing a car instead of buying groceries. But this isn't only about money. Having a car used to give people more options. Now, it drags them down into more debt. It's also about what people are losing. When someone can't afford a car, they lose more than just transportation. They lose the chance to take a better job, to move somewhere new, or to help their kids get to school or practice. As more buyers leave the market, the companies that make these cars are facing a huge problem. It's one they didn't see coming, even though they helped create it. What's happening to the dealerships is only the start. There's more behind this shift, and it's spreading. The whole industry is changing slowly, and maybe for good. Cost and price increase. For years, car companies focused on profits instead of people. They didn't just move away from affordable cars, they planned it. This shift wasn't some accident that just happened along the way. It was carefully designed by top executives. One by one, they got rid of smaller, cheaper models. They closed factories that built low-cost cars. They replaced them with more expensive trucks and fancy SUVs. Inside those new vehicles, they added large screens, high-end finishes, and paid features that locked drivers into extra costs long after they drove off the lot. Investors liked what they saw. Executives got rewarded. And each year, car prices went up little by little. Nobody stopped it because the money kept coming in. This worked well when interest rates stayed low and credit was easy to get. But as inflation started to rise and people began to feel the pressure, the entire system started to fall apart. By then, it was too late to fix. Assembly lines were already retooled to build only high-priced models. The affordable cars had been pushed out of the picture completely. Now the companies are stuck. The cars they have don't match what people need. Many buyers, especially those with limited incomes, don't even bother to walk into a dealership anymore. The first-time shoppers, the ones looking to trade in their old cars, or families searching for something simple, they've all backed away. These weren't just price problems, they came from deeper issues. The entire structure of the industry changed to suit profits, not people. Factories can't easily go back to making cheaper cars. Companies keep hoping that discounts, flashy offers, or longer loans will bring people back. But none of those tricks are working. While automakers hold on to those hopes, the damage is getting worse. Behind the scenes, another pressure is building up, and it's hitting the remaining dealerships hard. Most people don't see it, but it's there, getting worse each day. This problem is tied to how dealerships operate. Dealers don't actually own the cars sitting on their lots. Instead, they borrow money to keep that inventory through short-term loans. This is called floor plan financing. It allows them to stock up on new vehicles without paying for them up front. As long as the cars sell quickly, it works fine. But if they sit around too long, the dealer starts to fall behind. In 2025, these loans became more painful than ever. Interest rates jumped higher than they'd been in years. Some dealers faced rates that passed 9%. At the same time, fewer people were buying cars, and the vehicles stayed parked for months. The longer they stayed unsold, the more the loan costs grew. Every extra week meant more money owed. Before long, dealers were paying thousands just to hold on to stock that nobody wanted. And those weren't the only expenses. Add in the cost of keeping the lights on, paying for staff, protecting the property, and covering insurance. Bit by bit, the pressure wore them down. Many began cutting back. First, they spent less on ads, then they reduced staff. Some even cut their business hours, others stopped ordering new vehicles altogether. But none of that helped erase the debt already sitting on their books. Those floor plan loans didn't just go away. Once a car stayed on the lot past 90 days, lenders started to worry. Some banks pulled back their support, while some asked for early payments. Even dealerships that had been around for years suddenly found themselves deep in financial trouble. They couldn't get ahead, no matter what they tried. The financing system that once helped them now worked against them. What used to be a small risk became a huge threat. A slow-selling car could throw everything off. Multiply that by dozens of vehicles, and the entire business structure began to shake. The auto industry had always depended on cars coming in, buyers picking them up, and money flowing in between. But now, that movement has slowed down or even stopped. This isn't part of some cycle, it's a real shift, and the industry doesn't seem ready to face what's actually happening. The impact, damages incurred. For a long time, the car business ran on habit. People knew what to do. They bought a car every few years, traded it in, and drove off in something newer. That routine kept everything moving. It kept factories running, dealers busy, and buyers locked into new loans. But now, that cycle is falling apart. Young adults are changing the way they think about cars. Many of them are not buying at all. Some rely on rideshare apps, others take the bus or train. A lot of people in cities are getting by with just one car per household instead of 2 or 3. Even in small towns and country areas, people are hanging on to their old cars longer than anyone expected. 10 years go by, then 12, sometimes even 15. Families patch things up instead of trading in. Mechanics stay busy, but showrooms are almost empty. Data shows this drop across the country. The number of new cars sold keeps falling. Even the used market isn't moving. Lease returns, which used to fill up dealer lots with gently used cars, are slowing down too. The entire system depends on movement. Loans need to be written. Cars need to be traded in. Dealerships need to keep rotating stock. That movement has slowed to a crawl. Cars are sitting untouched. Deals are inactive. Promotions keep popping up. Loan offers still exist for some people, but buyers are no longer showing up. This isn't only about money. It's about how people feel. They've grown tired of the way the system works. Owning a car doesn't bring excitement anymore. Driving once felt like freedom. Now it feels like being tied down. The feeling of being stuck with something that keeps pulling money out of your wallet has taken over. People are starting to think differently. When they look at a new car, they don't see something they want. They see bills, monthly payments, insurance, interests, repairs. They see a piece of metal that loses value the second it leaves the lot. That shift in thinking has hit the auto industry hard. No ad campaign can fix that mindset. No rebate can rebuild trust once it's been broken. While the industry keeps trying to hold on to the old ways, another issue is building up at storage lots hidden across the country. These are places most people never hear about, but they are now full of brand new cars that won't sell. Unused rail yards and wide open parking lots are being packed with new vehicles that can't be delivered because the dealers have no space left. Trucks keep pulling in with fresh inventory, even though the lots are full. Cars are left under the hot sun or freezing snow, depending on the region. And slowly, these brand new vehicles start to break down. Tires deflate, batteries stop working, rubber parts shrink and crack, paint begins to wear out. Rodents crawl into the engine bays and chew through wires. These aren't used cars falling apart. These are new models, fresh from the factory, breaking down without ever being driven. Once a car sits for too long, it can't go straight to a buyer. It has to be inspected, repaired, sometimes even sent back to the factory for work. That costs money. It also takes time. Dealers don't want them. Buyers won't take them either, and manufacturers don't have anywhere else to put them. Companies are now hiring storage contractors to look after these unused cars. They try to keep the tires from going flat. They try to rotate them around so one side doesn't wear out. They do their best to prevent damage. But the longer a car stays parked, the worse it gets, and the value keeps slipping away. Each week, more cars show up, and the problem gets bigger. The factories don't stop. They are still building as if people are buying. But the system can't take in anymore. It's backed up from every side. These vehicles sitting in the open air are signs that the industry is refusing to change. The market has moved on, but production keeps going. The people who used to buy have moved away from the old system. They're not coming back. And now, what started in the showrooms is spreading. The damage is reaching every part of the automobile world, from the assembly lines to the transport trucks to the locked gates around overflow lots. Everything is starting to break apart. Sadly, it's only the beginning. A need to re-strategize. One moment, the machines were running. Workers moved down the line, welding, fitting parts, testing engines. Then, without much warning, everything stopped. No clear reason was given, but for many, it felt like the ground had shifted underneath them. These weren't outdated or poorly run places. These were plants that had delivered strong results for years. Skilled workers had built up experience and pride in what they did. Some had spent their whole lives in these buildings. Many of the workers had raised families on their wages. They had bought homes, saved money, and built routines around those jobs. But when the vehicles stopped selling, everything broke down. The dealerships had no room left. The lots were packed with cars that no one wanted to buy. Prices were high. Interest rates climbed. Buyers walked away. And once the inventory backed up, factories had no reason to keep building. Production came to a halt. What followed was wave after wave of cuts. People who thought they'd retire in 10 years were told to leave early. Some were offered jobs in other cities far from home. Others were given payouts that wouldn't even cover a year's bills. Whole towns built around these plants started to feel the impact. It wasn't just the workers who got pushed out. Small businesses that depended on them also began to fall apart. The diner near the factory lost its regulars. Daycare centers lost children whose parents had been laid off. Mechanics had fewer cars to fix. All of this happened fast, and there was no simple way to bring it back. But in the middle of all this loss, some parts of the car industry kept hanging on. The service centers didn't shut their doors. Even in dealerships where the showroom lights were turned off and the sales floor looked empty, the garage stayed busy. People still needed oil changes. Tires still wore out. Brakes still needed fixing. Mechanics stepped up. They worked longer shifts, used whatever tools they had, and found ways to keep old cars running. Sometimes, they had to deal with parts that took weeks to arrive, so they got creative. Even though these repairs didn't bring in huge profits, they brought in enough to keep the lights on. They brought in enough to pay some of the staff and stop the buildings from shutting down completely. The money wasn't flowing, but it was trickling in steadily. Some dealerships began to shift focus entirely. They let go of sales goals and started to build up their repair business. Others teamed up with independent garages or took on contracts to service company fleets. This was no longer about selling new vehicles. It was about fixing what people already owned. In many cases, the service area was the only reason the dealership still operated. It was tough, often frustrating, and always uncertain. But it kept some life in the building. It gave workers a reason to keep coming in. Still, this setup only works if customers keep coming. In some areas, especially in small towns, that flow is drying up too. People who used to drive daily are now cutting back. Some are working from home. Others are combining trips or catching rides with neighbors. When vehicles break down, the owners hold off repairs. They stretch it out until it was critical. They skip small fixes and wait for serious problems. As driving habits change, fewer cars roll into service lanes. And with fewer repairs to do, the mechanics have less work. This shift is starting to show in areas far from big cities. Rural places, already hit hard by factory shutdowns, now face another blow. The link between cars, work, and community is wearing thin. Dealerships that once sold hundreds of cars a month now fight to service a dozen. Workers who once fixed 5 vehicles a day now see just 1 or 2. It's a slow grind. It wears people down. But they keep showing up, hoping that something will turn around, hoping that the road doesn't run out altogether. This is what survival looks like now for many in the auto world. Not expansion, not growth, just holding on, one repair at a time, while everything around them continues to shift. The progressive decline chain. Across the middle of the country, something has shifted. In places like Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, and western Pennsylvania, towns that once buzzed with traffic now move slowly. Fewer cars pass by. Morning traffic is almost gone. Gas stations sit empty. It's not that people don't need to get around, it's that many just can't anymore. As new cars became harder to afford, insurance prices kept going up, and dealerships began to shut down. People started to give up driving. This change didn't happen all at once. It began with small choices. The change went beyond personal struggles. It spread through towns. When people stopped driving, they stopped going out as often. Local stores started having less sales. Events became rare. Roads emptied. Employers found it harder to hire because many workers no longer had a way to reach the job site. Schools had to cut bus routes. Clinics and hospitals saw missed appointments because patients couldn't make the long trips. For many, a car had never been a luxury. It was the only way to get through the day. Without one, life turned difficult. While towns tried to hold on, another problem grew behind the scenes. It had to do with insurance companies and lenders. These companies were once a big part of the car business. They made car ownership possible by giving out loans and writing policies. But that part of the system has started to fall apart. Lenders have begun pulling back. Loan rules have become stricter. Some financial institutions have stepped away from the auto market completely. Many loans that were handed out from 2020 to 2023 are now underwater. What this means is that borrowers owe more than their cars are worth. People have fallen behind on payments. Repossession rates have shot up. But even after the cars are taken back, no one wants to buy them. There's no value left in them. Insurance companies are also struggling. At the same time, people are no longer paying premiums. As a result, many insurers have started raising their rates sharply or leaving areas they now see as risky. In many states, people are left with no options or are being priced out completely. This breakdown is reshaping the market, even if it hasn't made national news. Without access to loans or affordable insurance, fewer people can buy cars. That means fewer sales. And when there are fewer sales, service departments slow down, too, as jobs disappear. The whole structure of the auto economy begins to freeze. Not because there aren't enough vehicles, but because trust in the system has started to break apart. With fewer buyers and stricter rules, dealerships are stuck. Meanwhile, it isn't just the workers being hit. It's people who once depended on the money car sales brought in. Sales taxes, license fees, registration costs, and worker income all helped these towns stay afloat. Now that money is decreasing, one by one, public services are being cut. Potholes go unfixed as road crews lose their hours. Bus routes are canceled, leaving people stranded. Fire departments have fewer trucks. Police cars are old and repairs are delayed. Trash collection is no longer constant and reliable. This is not one big collapse. It's slow. It eats away at the heart of the town until things just stop working. Some cities are trying to stretch what's left, but with every cut, things get worse. A grocery store decides not to renew its lease. A local pharmacy moves out. A school struggles to stay open. The loss of car sales doesn't just affect showrooms. It hits everything tied to that revenue. And the deeper the damage goes, the harder it becomes to fix. In the end, the impact reaches into homes. People no longer see cars as part of a better future. The vehicle that once meant freedom and independence has become something else, something heavy, risky, and hard to keep. What used to be a symbol of adulthood and progress is now a reminder of what's slipping away. As towns shrink and families struggle to get by without cars, the entire meaning of driving in America is starting to change. The open road used to lead somewhere. Now, for many, it feels like it just fades out. Once upon a drive. For more than 100 years, the car was more than just something to drive. It stood for pride and personal progress. A car meant you could go wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. Teenagers counted down the days until they could get their license. Families marked important moments with road trips and first drives. A house didn't feel right without a car in the driveway. That vehicle wasn't just transportation. It was a symbol of having made it. Now, that way of thinking is melting. Not slowly, but in a way people can feel every day. The price of owning a car has gone through the roof. Insurance bills have grown so much that some people just can't keep up anymore. Gas prices jump up and down without warning. Fixing even small problems costs more than expected. For many, having a car now feels like being trapped. Instead of bringing freedom, it brings stress. Leasing a car isn't an easy choice either. Monthly payments are high, and the small print is full of tricks. Loans look helpful at first, but often come with interest rates that push buyers deep into debt. But this shift isn't just about money. It's also about how people feel. In big cities and in suburbs, younger people are pulling back from driving. Many of them wait longer to get their license. They don't see a car as a dream anymore. They focus more on staying connected through their phones than moving from place to place in a car. They don't care much about brands. They don't dream about fast engines or shiny new models. A car, to them, is just another bill. And for older generations, that change feels like something valuable has been lost. The image is blurring. Muscle cars that once made heads turn now just sit in showrooms. Small hybrids don't spark any real excitement. Even electric vehicles, which once looked like the future, are staying parked. The strong bond between people and their cars has faded, and for many, it's completely gone. This isn't only because of rising prices, it's also because the meaning of car ownership has changed. Even used cars, once the safer option for people with tighter budgets, are now priced like luxury models. A car used to be a symbol of independence, success, and even adventure. Now, it reminds people of monthly bills, lost value, and feeling stuck. That old connection is hard to hold on to when a car feels more like a burden than a gift. At the same time, the plan to move into a greener future is running into trouble. Electric vehicles were supposed to fix many problems. They were seen as cleaner, smarter, and more modern. People thought they would help the planet and help the car industry at the same time. The future was meant to run on batteries. But now, in 2025, that future has slowed down. And not because people don't care about the environment. The problem is that the cost is too high and the trust is too low. Electric cars are piling up in dealerships. There used to be long waiting lists, but now dealers can't get rid of them. The prices are too high for regular families. Charging stations are hard to find in many places. Replacing batteries still costs too much. And because of rising interest rates, monthly payments for electric cars have shot up. In many areas, they're now more expensive than even full-size trucks. There's also another problem: negative equity. People who bought electric cars in the past few years now owe more than the cars are worth. Their trade-in value has dropped, discounts are gone, and buyers feel stuck with a car they can't afford to fix or sell. That feeling spreads fast. The push for electric cars didn't fail because people gave up on saving the planet. It failed because the numbers never worked for most people, and the promises came too early. What should have started a major change has turned into a warning. Without making it affordable, the change can't move forward. The breakdown in the car market isn't just one thing. It's not just about prices going up or interest rates rising. It's about how everything connects. Ownership, dealerships, buyers, and the future. Everything is tied together. And now, the whole system is falling apart. What's happening to the car is not just a shift in business. It's the end of something that once shaped everyday life. What do you think is going to happen to the automobile industry very soon? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.